Welcome to a new episode of Delphine Circle, where we uncover the mind, body, and spirit of success. Subscribe now for free to receive updates on the latest interviews. Then, sit back, relax, and tune in. Hi, Adam. Welcome to the Circle.
How are you?
I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
This has been a long time coming.
Yes.
Because you are like family to me. Both of my sons work at LoanVault, and I have been able to sit on the sidelines and see your meteoric rise, and it's been really amazing to watch. And I really think that, you know, in my show, I interview people that have a claim to fame, and you absolutely have a claim to fame. People talk about you as the #1 mortgage broker in the United States, #1 mortgage broker in the world, year after year. Your awards, and I'm going to make sure that we have a picture to show everybody. It's just astounding. How did you get to be where you are?
It all started with foundation of my childhood. My childhood led into my future, and just the simplest things, just the smallest feeling of not being good enough in life, and just understanding, where people are mentally in the world, where they were in our past, understanding what our ancestors were dealing with, and understanding, what the world is facing today and what I can and can't do, and what's realistic and what's not. So facing the truth is a big factor in my life.
Interesting. So many people think that they're going to hear that people came from greatness because they came from a huge family that had everything. And I'll tell you, person after person that sat in that chair across from me has told the story that it was the fact that they didn't really have much growing up, and they knew that they had to rely on themselves to make it. And that's your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 2021, you made a very big decision. You left Loan Depot to launch your new firm, LoanVault.
Yes.
I remember I was a little concerned for you. I was like, Adam, the time is crazy. The market is going crazy. The interest rates were, going up and up and up with no sign of turning around. And what was it that made you make that decision?
Well, I figured if I'm going to build something great, I want to build something during the hardest time possible, right? So I know a lot of people, we call them the one-hit wonders. When rates dropped, everybody wanted to, be a mortgage hero, and everybody wanted to, be the victor of every situation. But I strongly believed in that if we are able to have faith and, adopt proper practices that are going to allow us to strive in a rough, harsh market, it's going to allow us to steer certain market conditions when market wants to, go crazy, and when, it'll help us hedge against any crazy inflations in the market, right? And I believe that putting certain systems in place in one of the harshest times allows you to become, bulletproof in a sense. It's kind of like relates to my life, your body is designed to survive. You put yourself under voluntary stress and controlled pressure, you grow. And if you put your company and your business under controlled pressures and voluntary stress, which was, the decision at the time was voluntary, I knew that I could build something that would last, whereas just kind of be like the rest. I just wasn't about that, So it was a bold move, but I mean, I believe that humans are defined by the bold moves that we make. So.
Now, when I was in your office and I saw that wall of awards, let's talk about that. What are some of the highlights? What are some of the stats that you've hit in your career?
Well, not to brag.
Please brag. This is your opportunity to brag.
I've broken every record as an LO that I could think of, that I've known nationally. And I just didn't want to leave the person in second place a chance. I always wanted to 3X them, 4X number 2, just because, whether I was in the first place or not, I was competing against myself truly. And my worst opponent, was myself. And I knew what I had to deal with, because if I would have compared myself to the bunch and the rest, I would have been comfortable with just winning by a hair, and I wasn't about that. So I just wanted to make sure I compete with myself. I was in my own bubble I was in my own world when I was working and going through a lot, and I knew what I had to prove to myself, for myself to be content with what I did. And even till this day, I'm still not content. There's always going to be, another factor for me. But I was just relentless. I feel like I've been like this since I was a child, and it hasn't changed.
How many hours a day do you work? Do you work from home? Tell me a little bit about what your daily routine looks like.
Well, my life is, I think I just live like a machine. And I believe that machines require a lot of maintenance to maintain machines, right? And success is a continued pursuit, right? And I don't think success is a one-time thing. It's a continued pursuit. And that's what, leads you to greatness. And my routine is, I get up, I'm very systematic. I'm very, very systematic because I have to be, right? I don't have any error. I have very thin margin for BS in my life. I can't. So I'm up at, 5:30, 5, depending on how my rest body schedule is, because I'm also an athlete. I power lift and I semi bodybuild, and it's, I get up, I got to make sure I have my same routine. I shower, I got to do my cardio in the morning, I do some kind of physical activity. And then I do my routine, I eat, and then I'm on the road by a certain time. And the reason why I like to be up before everybody is because when I'm on the road really early in the morning, it's kind of a joy because I get to see the sunrise and I'm not around a bunch of people in traffic and I don't feel like I'm living like the rest of the bunch. I get to work, it's a clear mind, and it gives me the ability to kind of like orchestrate certain things I need to do throughout the day. I have quite a few assistants that kind of dial out my day throughout the day. And then when I get into the office, it's probably like 6, 7 sometimes, depending on scheduling. And I run from 6, 7 all the way to 7, 8 sometimes at night.
So when you get to the office and you're on those calls and talking to applicants and clients, what separates you from the other loan officers?
I believe that I possess speed. I believe that I possess control in my systems and how I work and function. And I believe that I have accessibility amongst product and service. And knowing how the world is moving and seeing how things are subjected to what the day's light is, I believe that, you should have all these things in order because the world wants speed, control, and accessibility when it comes to providing a service or a product to anybody out there. I don't care if you're selling cotton candy. And when I'm on the phone, it's just, it's like an electrifying feeling. I typically, I am, believe it or not, like even though I'm a CEO and I have these companies and I'm doing my thing, I'm actually in my most comfortable state when I'm speaking to a client. That's my therapy. When I'm helping, fixing, or healing, or doing something for somebody, that allows me to heal in a sense, And I believe the difference is that I believe it comes off very genuine. I am very direct. I am very forward, and I explain to all my clients, I'm not here to give you a sales pitch from 1985. I'm gonna be a little forward with you, get you straight to the answer, because everyone's got shit going on in their lives, Nobody wants to hear it, and actually, people appreciate that. Like, what? I appreciate you. Thank you. Like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and X, Y, Z.
So, how has the model that you've created at LoanVault, how is it different than, let's say, the Loan Depot model?
Well, first and foremost, I am grateful for the, base model of what a typical direct lender is. It's a stepping platform for many people that are, entering the mortgage world, right? They have good trainings, they help you get licensed, etc. But I know that there's obviously a lot of different layers. There's a retail side in mortgage lending, which is the typical direct lending side. And then there's a wholesale side, right? And I know that the wholesale side, you have more control. And then, there's also a fully delegated side where I can, we have our own line of credit, for example, we can lend our own money and service you on our own in a sense. So my thing was, instead of, releasing and going into the wild and trying to be like everybody else or open another pop broker shop or do another direct lender, I wasn't looking to I didn't come this far in my life to copy anybody. So what I introduced to the public and the world was a hybrid direct lender. And what a hybrid direct lender is that I believe that where we have legitimately merged the resiliency of the retail side and the wholesale side, facilitating, an amazing experience where it's, we're able to deliver more of a concierge on-demand kind of level of service to the client and also the loan officer that we hire. And what we brought together was, the speed and control and technology from the retail side. And obviously wholesale pricing is a lot cheaper. So I know it does come off as a big threat to a lot of people out there when you put those two together.
So let me understand this for some people that are listening that may not be as an insider in the industry. So the retailer is when the company sells their products directly, and then wholesalers when they provide their products for other agents to sell. Is that how it works?
Correct.
Okay.
But it's at a cheaper rate, for example. So on the retail side, it's all direct. They are fully delegated, meaning, you write a loan for them. They make quite a bit of money on it as a direct
But they've
lender.
got to pay for the marketing and the office staff and all of
Overhead.
the expenses and the overhead for selling. Whereas if they wholesale it, that expenses goes to the...
Correct. And that's why it's more expensive on the retail side versus the wholesale side. But imagine we were to bring the best of both worlds. I got pricing from wholesale, and then I have, the technology of the retail side, and then bam, there you have a hybrid direct lender. And then we also have our own line of credit, and we can lend our own money if we need to. But the difference that we possess is not that we're tied to one lender. I believe that there's multiple layers of lending in the country. So there's your standard, Fannie, Freddie type of deals. There's a non-QM space, meaning, your typical self-employed clients, your 1099 guys, the self-employed cats where, they, a lot of people write their stuff off. They don't actually, show their income, I guess. And unfortunately, they don't qualify for your typical loans. So that's a non-QM space. And then you also have a lot of investors and business owners that are looking to seek financing that are struggling because it's not streamlined. It's not direct. It's not directed. People don't know where to go. And so we have, exclusive access to about 92 lenders now. 92 lenders we can deliver. And, it's just the variety, and we kind of organized structure in the process for us to be able to kind of access these lenders, deliver the service to a client, make somebody happy, and move on with your day. That's it.
So let me review. The world has changed, right? In the old days, everybody got a paycheck. They had a paycheck stub.
Yeah.
It was all documented. Everything was easy. Then we've seen a huge shift in the job market, right? A lot more independent contractors, a lot more people laid off of work because of all of the things that happened during COVID.
Yeah.
That must have created a huge shakeup in an industry where documentation is king, right? And I know that it's not easy a lot of people are having a hard time getting finance. So if I was a person that may not be your generic person that takes a paycheck and has all my paycheck stubs from 5 years, am I going to have a better chance of getting a loan if I go to you as opposed to one of these retailers?
100%. Your typical retailer is limited to product. They can only offer a VA loan, a conventional loan, and FHA loan. That's it. And, they sell their package of products off, sell them off to Fannie and Freddie. That's it. So in the non-QM space, that's a whole nother world that a lot of people don't really understand. And don't really know about it. And I believe that it hasn't been marketed well because, when rates were super low, right, people went directly to Fannie, Freddie, did loans like that, even though the non-QM market was still available, right? But the reason why I chose to kind of go into lending when rates were kind of going to hell is because
That's when the need existed.
Exactly. And by developing the structure and this process now, it's like, okay, whether the rates go up or down, as a company, we're okay. As a company, we don't have to, step back and, say, oh, we need to do all these layoffs, et cetera. No, there's a whole new sanction of, lending that we could provide to the public in the world and how people keep their homes. It's rough when a family loses their home. It's really rough. And I've seen it happen a lot. I've experienced quite a bit as a younger kid. And I made it a thing. I wanted to make sure that no family ever loses their home.
So really, you see yourself as serving people.
I'm a servant to the public. Yeah. And I'm proud of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, they always say if you are doing something for somebody else, that's where the success comes for sure.
Yeah.
I know that you recently opened a new Newport Beach office. You also opened a new office in your hometown of Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Guy, seriously, you are blowing up. Tell me a little bit about what your expansion plans entail.
Well, my expansion plans are to be centralized in California. Obviously, it's kind of like Wall Street for other lenders in the country. Definitely be centralized in my hometown, but then you also have UWM and Rocket Mortgage right there in the center. And then definitely I'm also connected pretty well. And, our next base is going to be, well, actually it's already in the making. It's in Miami.
Oh,
So, because, I deal with a lot of, the New Yorkers that come down, and a lot of these guys are hustlers and they want to work. And, it's just, I want to be able to provide opportunity in the Midwest and the East Coast, kind of technically, and, Florida, because a lot of the New Yorkers come down there too as well. And a lot of people from Southern countries come up there as well too. So Florida has a different culture to it too as well. I believe that, people there just want to work. They just want to grind. Mm-hmm. They always got a smile on their face. They're always happy. Each section has its own culture. And it's just to, adapt to whatever the demographic is to ensure that I'm able to provide success and an opportunity to a lot of people.
I love that. That's awesome. This is a time in your industry that there's a lot of people out of work, right? Yes. A lot of agents lost their jobs, or there just hasn't been the work to support it. Yeah. I know you're giving jobs to a lot of agents and really reaching out and trying to make an impact there. What is your plan for bringing on new talent, and what do you look for? What type of experience do you look for when you're bringing on a loan agent?
Well, when we bring on a loan agent, if I have someone that's a go-getter, that's a doer, right? I can do anything. Mm-hmm. I can teach them, show them anything. They'll be amazing. I can pull somebody off the street. If he has work ethic, he has hustle, he has loyalty, he has ambition, and he has skin, you could do anything, right? And a lot of times that has to be trained and cultured, but I believe that, the main thing we look for is that clearly you must be licensed on a state and federal level. You should have your NMLS, and you need to also have your DRE. You need your California real estate license as well. It is a 1099 model. So, it gives a little bit more flexibility to the loan officer, but also you must have your own accountability, right? And hold yourself accountable to be able to function in, certain markets, right? We actually teach LOs to do their own marketing. Mm-hmm. We teach loan officers to understand how the market's functioning. We give them a lot of power and control, because I believe when you do that, there's nowhere else they can go. They're just
You're teaching them how to be their own entrepreneur. Self. Correct. And it's more of not of an employee, which is a very different model than what you came up under in Loan Depot. Mm-hmm. How did you learn that?
Well, I mean, even, when you work in sales, right, and just in general, whether you're W-2 or 1099, at the end of the day, your top producers really don't care about that. Mm. They are going to build their own schedule. They'll have their own faith within themselves, and they're going to just run. Whether it's 1099 or W-2, it doesn't matter. If they want it, they want it. But at the end of the day, the majority of these bigger companies, they make their money on the mediocre people. And these are the facts, right? They build a controlled environment. There's a controlled ecosystem. Show up at 9, leave at 5, and do, right? So my vision is to target the upper 10 percentile of the top originators in the country, bringing them as a base. And we're technically, a little bit of a hybrid model too. So we have the majority of our LOs as this independent 1099 model, but we do also have a retail side where they are W-2. So if you're fresh and you're looking to learn and you need that controlled environment to teach you the basics and the foundation, that's when we kind of transition you into the independent model. So I believe that, being able to get directly to the independent model, even though it's easy come, easy go, right? I believe a luxury is a liability. So that must be earned, right? And I say this to everybody at my company, a luxury is a liability without discipline. So I give you the opportunity to do all of this. How are you going to control it? We're tested when we lose it all, and we're tested when we have it all.
So it really does take a strong work ethic to be able to work and be successful in that model.
Yeah. And we also want to make sure that, you have, somewhat of an experience as well. If you're going to go directly into the independent side, we look up your MMI, we look up your numbers, we look at how many deals you funded, we look at, how your work ethic is, mm-hmm. right? It's really, some people are born with the it factor, with skill and talent and being able to just speak and, take care of their people. And some people need to work a little bit harder. But regardless of how talented you are, the hardest worker in the room is always going to outwork anyone else, because the luxury of your skills and talent sometimes becomes a liability. You get soft. Oh no, I could do that later. Well, there's a guy, that barely speaks English in my office, and he wasn't the best when he started, but because he's so relentless, it's hard to beat him. He's just running hard. He barely speaks English, and he's great, but it's because he's a doer.
Yep. That's a mentality and mindset. If somebody was interested in coming to work with LoanVault, how do they apply? How do they contact you for that?
Well, they would go to careers@loanvaultinc.com, submit the app and query. Our recruiting team will be reaching out to you, and they would actually go over the whole synopsis and that process from A to Z.
Oh my gosh, easy. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that that's on your webpage.
Thank you.
As I understand it, anywhere from 25 to 50% of loan applications never get to the funding stage. And it's usually issues pertaining to the applicant. I know I just use LoanVault to get my mortgage. And, and I'm a pretty buttoned up person, but when I started hearing some of the things, they were like, don't transfer money, make sure you don't, have any credit inquiries, make sure I was like, there was such a long list of things that I was like, I had no idea about that, What are some of the biggest reasons that people just don't know about and they do it and then it makes them not qualify?
Well, the biggest thing is your credit. I'm going to say it's your credit score. Your credit
score. You hear
score,
that, kids? Credit score. Mom was right.
Your credit score, you have to understand how credit works, not fear it. Understanding things and not fearing things is one thing, because a lot of people just don't even want to look. They're afraid. They don't want to look at their balances. You have to face everything. And when you face things, the anxiety goes away and the fears go away, and then you overcome things. And you learn and you adapt, you adjust, and you move on, and you teach it to someone else later. And that's how finance works. But unfortunately, there isn't a thing in the world where they teach you finance in school at all. Like they don't. It's just a controlled environment to live under their ideologies of what they expect of humanity. And I don't agree with that. So your credit's the biggest thing. Number two, your income. If you're W-2'd, you're W-2'd. You can't do much. And if you're self-employed, you have to file your taxes, and you got to be organized, and you got to run your own operation. You have to be organized. It's very simple. And then there's two ways of getting qualified. If you're going to go your typical Fannie Freddie route, your typical standard lending route, credit, income, and equity if you're trying to refi, right? Those are big factors, right? And then cash on hand, assets, etc. If that's not going to work, the non-QM space, even though we're not so heavily concerned about income in the non-QM space, which is the non-qualified mortgage way of lending, you got to make sure you have a good credit score, because even the slightest little dent in your credit will take the biggest impact on you. Even if you're a business owner, even if you're trying to get a business loan, you got to make sure your credit's good. Credit's one of the biggest things.
So interest rates seem to have leveled off, but it's been a rocky time, right? And if you were to have a magic crystal ball, what are your predictions for the next 12 to 24 months?
I wish I did have a magic crystal ball. I'd be...
You don't got one?
I think I have one, but I got to keep that hidden, though. But I'll say this. I believe that history has the greatest tendency of repeating itself. And with that being said, what goes up must come down. And with rates the way they are today, we've seen this cycle happen multiple times. Right now, I believe that clearly rates are going to eventually drop. Do we have an exact pinpoint of when? We have all these scholars and all these, finance gurus. People are saying rates are going to drop in 35 days. People are saying rates are going to drop mid-2024 or Q1 of 2024. We really don't know. But I'll say one thing, when rates were really, really low, what happened to property values?
Yeah, no, they go up.
They shot up, right? Purchasing power was stronger. Things were good. Now rates are high. What do you think is going to happen to property values against people trying to sell homes? Yeah. They're going to stabilize too, and they're going to kind of dip a little bit. So,
and we've started seeing that already for sure.
Correct. And, with the stabilizations that we're seeing, it's just enough proof for us to understand that history is already starting to repeat itself. But I don't think it should deter anyone from buying a home, because if you look at real estate statistically, if you bought a house back in 1980, it's going to be worth more no matter what today, right? So you put $1 in the bank 3 years from today, or 4 years or 5 years, et cetera, as time goes on, the value of the dollar is not as powerful. It can't do as much, right? But when we have our assets into real estate only goes up, especially here in California.
Absolutely. Things are fluctuating and constantly moving, and that requires you to be on your toes all the time and being able to have to address the client's fears and the client's needs. what is it that you do to constantly be keeping yourself educated and up to date and, understanding what's going on in your industry?
Well, I was an investment bank for JP Morgan when I was a little bit younger, from the ages like 21 to 25. I did pretty dang well. But I left that industry because I didn't like the controlled environment that I was in. But I'm grateful and thankful for them because it's taught me so much structure growing up. And I do have a lot of friends that are still involved heavily that do investments with JP Morgan. And I have a small community that I'm involved with, right? They always keep me in the loop. And, I hear a lot of different opinions from a lot of people still, even till this day. But I have a good grasp and understanding of kind of like where I should pivot the company to, what types of marketing we should target, what's happening in the market. Like right now, it's clearly a cash out market. Whether rates are high or low, America's holding the highest debt. People need to refinance no matter what. There's always going to be a need for a loan, right? And unfortunately, whether a lot of people refi during the refi boom, they have their 2.75 30-year fixed rates. But if you're holding $80,000 in credit card debt and you have all this equity built up from when your house value increased, you're going to use that equity to pay off your debt. I mean, it makes no sense paying 275 on, X amount of dollars on a balance on your mortgage and you have all this other debt. It's contradicting the whole purpose of your livelihood, right? At the end of the day, regardless of rates, we need to look at what's coming in and what's going out. And then what are you left with? What does your lifestyle look like, right? So that cycle is always been the same, right? So a lot of people are in a cash out market. We know where to gear our marketing. And just from the conversations we know we have 4 marketing engines. So based off the market, we kind of know how to pivot certain types of marketing channels to ensure that we stay afloat as a company, make sure we're servicing the right people, not the wrong people at a certain time, because I don't want to provide anyone a disservice that doesn't need it.
That makes sense. Let's take a little sidestep.
Sure.
Let's go back and let's talk a little bit about your time at Loan Depot.
Okay.
Loan Depot, obviously major player in the mortgage industry. A company started in 2009 by Anthony Shea. A company that you spent a major part of your career at and really saw a lot about what was going on in there. In 2021, some things obviously arose. Anthony Shea stepped down as CEO. Yeah. The company has seeming to be struggling to keep its footing since then. A
lot of companies,
specifically in the mortgage industry. And, that was, of course, the time that you decided to start your company. What was it that you saw there? Like, what do you think went wrong? What do you think should have been done or could have been done? What lessons did you take away from that experience?
I've spoken to so many clients in my time there, right? As the market started to shift and things started to move, and even prior to the refi boom, I've been in the game for quite a bit since 2017. I was, there was a lot of people that were, not the ideal candidate we were looking for, right? Not the big fish. For example,
client-wise or loan officer?
Client-wise, right? So there's a lot of services that people needed. People that had low FICOs, there wasn't a structure to help those people. People, with, no income, there wasn't a structure to help them, right? And at the end of the day, it's a business and you have to do what's conducive to a business to help it, right? So, at the end of the day, we were able to see best way I could put it is that I've gone so deep in the ocean, right? I've felt the waves and the pressures of the water, and I kind of seen what needed to be done, what doesn't need to be done. And I, voiced this and I said, hey, there's a lot of clients that need help, and I knew there's a non-QM market. I knew this in advance, and I knew that there's an opportunity to delegate. I knew that there's an opportunity in the wholesale side too. And I know the wholesale side wasn't, up and running like we wanted to.
Because Loan Depot had a wholesale side as well, right?
But unfortunately it shut down. Don't get me wrong, I love Loan Depot, but there was a lot. Here's the thing. I feel like when a company grows so big, you can only voice your concern so much before somebody really listens. You know what I mean? And by then, a lot of times it's too late, right? And sometimes you try respectfully, but there was a lot of things that I seen happen, and I seen them coming a mile away. And I knew, I was like, listen, I have to prepare and I got to build something. I wasn't going to wait for somebody else to do it. Everyone has had their time to shine. Everyone's in their own generation. And I feel like there's probably going to be another generation that's younger than I am, and they're going to see things that I may not see, right? Respectfully speaking. But
So do you think Anthony Shea should have been listening to the people in the company more and hearing what the clients were needing?
I can't really speak on what he was doing exactly. I wasn't with him every second of my life. I spent more time with the vice presidents and the VPs and the presidents. I spent more of my time with them, right? And I know a lot of their...
Just seeing how the company's leadership was going. Is that what would be your assumption or your...
Yeah. And, I feel like, when people get to a certain age, I feel like your ambitions and your perspective in life kind of changes in your goals, So I mean, he's made his success. He's done well. He's provided the world a great service, but times change, right? Obviously, he stepped down. He's moved on. He's living his life, which is great. But I seen that there was a lot of things that needed to be done, and I seen it a mile away. So I knew that there was a non-QM market that had to be streamlined. I knew that wholesale needed a whole nother life. I knew that they needed speed, control, and accessibility with their platform. They needed more detail, more care, because if overhead was going to get so tight and rough in the W-2 model, and you have all these employees working for you, that you needed that wholesale side to hold you over. Right now, we're Rocket Mortgage's number one partner in the U.S. out of 10,000 brokers. We're a big piece of their business. And, their retail side, as big as they are, they're struggling too. But Rocket is a little bit bigger, and they knew that saying, hey, we're going to put our attention towards wholesale. That's going to hold us over during this rough period. Because right now, if they have no overhead on marketing, they have no overhead on payroll, they have no overhead dealing with HR, they have no responsibilities, all they're doing is providing us a product to sell, the majority of that stress is kind of put on the brokers, right? And they're delivering the service back, and there's a split. So in the way I see it is, a lender is better off making, $1 instead of no dollars.
Adam, I want to shift and go into what we call big questions. Okay. This is an opportunity where we get to see a little bit more about the personal side, the Adam behind the awards. I know we talked a little bit about your routines in terms of your physicality. You are always in the gym. We know that about you. Everybody knows that about you. You love your workouts and your exercise routine, and it's clearly paying off for you. But I know you're also a very spiritual person, and you've got some mindsets that really help to fuel your success. Talk to me a little bit about what mindset you have brought to your career that has helped you to be successful.
Well, I believe in stability, balance, focus in that specific order. And obviously my stability is my foundation, which is God. I believe in God, and, a lot of people have their own beliefs or whatever, but sometimes things are, the truth is the truth,
Mm-hmm.
And then, you without a foundation, without a base, you can't balance anything. How are you going to balance certain agendas in your life? And then once things are balanced, kind of like this tree, the base is the table, the balance are all these the strands, and then the focus is the beauty, and the stability, balance, focus is kind of what I I'm kind of been glued to since I was a kid. It's been my foundation, just to understand that structure. And being true to yourself and understanding your foundation and knowing your history to be able to understand your past, to understand your future, is going to be a big role into who you are as a person, how you develop.
And I know you're a man that has very strong faith. I mean, you don't drink.
Never.
You've never drank in your life.
Nope.
Not a drop of alcohol.
Not a drop.
You do not do drugs. You are not one dime if I passed a joint to you. And that's very uncommon in these days, and it's actually very uncommon in a sales industry, because we know that that is kind of a trap that a lot of young sales guys fall into, right?
Yeah.
It's the work hard, play hard model. And although you do like your cars, you do have some nice things, but I really respect the fact that you have a structure and a consistency about how you live your life. And do you think that that's really had an impact on your ability to be so successful?
Yes. So like I said, success comes to the prepared. I have very, very thin, I have very a thin margin for error, and there's a threshold, right? Like I can't afford mistakes or BS. I get it. Mistakes happen, but when God gives you a mind and power and control and of yourself, right? Because all we can do is control ourselves. You can't control nobody, right? The only thing we have is our minds, and all we can do is control what we think, feel, everything, how we want to interpret, how we react to things. And if you master yourself, you mastered everything. And I don't have time to drink. People want to drink, no offense, do your thing, but I'm in a different light. I'm functioning in a path that God had led for me and set out for me. And I am to ensure that I pursue the path that God has paved for me. And I need to ensure that I, not let God down with what he has blessed me with. And, I can't stop. And it's not even just a religious thing. It's just, a lot of my friends, are obviously practicing religion as me, of course. And, and they drink, and it's fine. It is what it is. But I'm on a mission, and nothing's bigger than the mission. No, nothing, right? So if you're on a mission, you're moving with a momentum. You live your life with a certain momentum. Nothing can distract you. I don't have time to take a week off, go out for a drink, and smoke a joint and do this and do that. I don't have that. I don't have that time, because my end result and my mission is a lot greater, and it just feels so much better, right? And the way I kind of relieve stress, or my let loose time is honestly is when I'm just getting stronger in the gym. That's probably why, I am what I am.
Mm-hmm. Tell me something that people would be surprised to know about you. As if not ever having a drink isn't one of them.
There's a lot. I love whales.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How funny is that? What is it about whales that attracts you?
I am obsessed. So I don't know. My dad got me this movie called Free Willy when I was like 5. And I remember at the end of the movie, there was like some kind of commercial or something. It said donate to the ASPCA or Whale Foundation, whatever. All I remember is, I remember seeing the logo, the MasterCard logo. And I found my dad's wallet, and I gave him Dad's card. I was like, "Hey, Pop, I own a whale." He was like, "What?" It goes $2,000 back in the day. But I've been obsessed with the aquamarine life. I believe that the ocean is another world. The fact that animals can breathe in the ocean and the water, and it's just we've only discovered 10-15% of the ocean. And I'm mind blown by the ocean. We can always think of the stars and the skies and everything past the universe, but the human mind can only understand so much because this is the dynamic God has given us, right? But the ocean is something that we can always continue to discover, and it's just I'm obsessed with the aquamarine life. I don't know. I think I would have been a whale trainer or something.
I need to introduce you to my friend Wylan. You guys have a lot in common in that way.
I think they're beautiful, majestic creatures. They're gentle giants.
Mm-hmm. Tell me something that you used to believe, but you don't anymore.
Something I used to believe people are what they think growing up. They had to tell you all this BS in school, and if you think you can, and we are what we practice, I believe. That's what I believe in now. Obviously not what we think. And if you're not what you practice, then what the hell are you doing?
My dad had a saying. He said, with each action, you define who you are.
Correct.
Right? It's not who we say who we are.
Exactly.
It's our actions that define who we are.
Absolutely. I
agree.
believe that wholeheartedly. We are what we practice.
I do too. Tell me a goal that you've yet to reach.
A goal that I've yet to reach is that I want 10,000 employees. I want 10,000 people employed.
What?
I want 10,000 families serviced. And then from there, I know it'll be multiplied.
You heard it here.
I'm on my way. That's a goal. It's not about me. It's people talked about, oh, Adam, you did this, you did that, you made this, you made that, and I'm numb to that now. It's like, okay, I started questioning myself. It's like, what have I done for others? What have I done for the world? I can confidently say I've created a handful of millionaires. I've created people, turned them into millionaires, and that creates a very strong circle. You change somebody's life. And if I'm able to employ 10,000 people and lead, right, I'm able to, blind them to the distractions and the chaos of this life and let them know what's actually helping them. Mm-hmm. So I've done that at a mass scale, and I'm going to continue to do it. 10,000 is the mark. I will get there.
And I'm going to watch you do it.
Before I'm 35.
What? You're just up the game a little bit. Thank you so much, Adam. It's been such a pleasure having you here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Delphine Circle. Don't forget to subscribe. It's free and it will help us keep these incredible interviews coming your way. Here are 2 other episodes you may enjoy. I'm Delphine. Welcome to my circle.